to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this, what is today, the 18th, I'm going to say, 18th day of September. Got a big week. We do have a big week in the NFL. But I got a big show for you tonight. 30 minutes past the hour. Coach Kevin Carroll, went to school with years ago. He was with me in my only University of Tennessee game. Maybe we'll talk about that. But they've got a huge game. Game day will be there and everything in Norman, Oklahoma, against Oklahoma Saturday night. Going to talk about that. Plus, big story out of Tennessee, also in the news, University of Tennessee, wanting to raise ticket prices 10%. Want to raise ticket prices 10% for a players fund. I know that's mixed reviews. I'm actually okay with that, actually. So anyways, got a lot to talk about tonight. Also, Tua has been put on IR. I'll cover that and more. But let's take our first and only break. Just a few short announcements. I'll be back here in just a few minutes here, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. To get the National Streaming Sports channel on your Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports. There's the channel search in Roku. There's our logo right on the right, NESSP. Tap on the logo and it will add to your TV, the channel to your TV. On your laptop, tablet, and mobile phone, download the free Roku app and channel search just like above. If you don't have Roku TV, you have to order a Roku device from the Roku store, hook it up to your smart TV, and bang, you have Roku TV. Again, channel search, National Streaming Sports, click on our NESSP logo, and add the channel. National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com. Designed for true fans. NFL odds, week 1 and futures. College football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds. NBA odds of division winners and playoffs. Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds. The National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds. And boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners. Also, during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
All righty, then. I know there's a lot of commercials there, but that means the show is growing. We're getting a better audience. Had a great audience last night. Listened to the playback Thank you, everybody. Please continue to share this program and build this thing up. I'm working around the clock to do so, playing that long game. Okay, Tua. I saw this yesterday, but just didn't have time to get to it. We all saw it as an inedibility. Okay, it was inedible that Tua was going to be put on the IR, minimum of 4 games due to his third. I want to say this is his third concussion since being in the NFL. Of course, we know about the other big one there where he had the, I think that's called a freeze or something, some kind of $50 medical term for that, where he's shaking his hand there. That was back when he had his other concussion. It was a couple of years ago against Cincinnati on a Thursday night game here. And we also, something similar. It was a similar issue that come up last week. Now, here's my thing. Colin Cowherd had Jimmy Johnson, former coach there. It is his third one. Yeah, and Miami assigned Tyler Huntley, by the way, from Baltimore Ravens practice squad, and of course, was it Skylar Thompson is going to be the quarterback now. But Jimmy Johnson was saying on the Colin Cowherd show, I think it was Tuesday, excuse me, and no, it was Monday. Okay, I'm a day behind always. He said, "Listen, I don't want to be the guy either way to influence Tua's decision." He says, I would leave it up to him straight up. And, for those who just say retire, that's, yes, I get that. I do get that. And others say, listen, maybe if the guy changes the way he plays, maybe if he gets 3 neurologists, 3 different opinions on this thing, is there a chance of permanent brain damage and whatnot? Maybe you want to look at it that way and let it play out. This young man has worked a long time to get here, and he wants to weigh out his options rather than just up and retire. And I wanted to credit Cowherd for saying this while talking to Jimmy Johnson, and I would agree, maybe the NFL should very well, and I've said this about other things too, get like an amnesty clause for situations like this where, remember when Sterling Sharp was right in his prime and one bad hit could make him paralyzed or something like that? He had an injury. The great brother, the great receiver, not a good receiver, a great receiver for the Green Bay Packers, got an injury in the 90s that halted his Hall of Fame career. And the doctors told him, they advised him not to play football again, and he didn't do it. He was a fantastic wide receiver. If this is a situation, like that, the amnesty clause where it does not hurt the team whatsoever, and the owner can simply divvy out all the money, pay the young man his full contract. I said that last year, by the way. Maybe they could have used this last year for Nick Chubb. Chick Chubb is still trying to come back. That guy's got a lot of heart. That was a gruesome knee injury that I did not think he would come back from. He's still working to come back. He started off on IR, Nick Chubb. But I said that's something like that where it doesn't hurt either party there should and very well go in effect where no party's hurt, because he just signed that contract. And, taking all the emotion out, like I said last week, I played Scott Morgan. See, I've got this new microphone, folks. It sounds great for me, but when I play my sound bites, it doesn't pick up the sound as good, and I apologize for that. This is $140-something microphone. It's a tax write-off, Pickles, but it doesn't pick up and I got a lot of sound bites that I did want to play, but I don't want you all to not hear them fully and not in this show not sound professional. But I think something like that, something like that would be something good to add to the NFL. Have that, and so he wouldn't feel obligated or like he's stealing money or letting the team down or anything. But I don't think people would, if you did a poll I don't think people would hold it against him if he was told to retire. I mean, you don't want to have permanent brain damage. I remember watching Peyton Manning his last year, and I was actually worried about him. At that time, I thought, man, I don't know if you should go through this. I mean, you could tell that he's had neck surgeries, and you just don't want to see the guy have a situation there where he's paralyzed, and he can't handle hold his kids or whatever. Steve McNair said that once. He said that he was hurt so bad he couldn't hold his kids above his head. If you remember that, Pickles, he said that. So I understand that, I understand, both sides of this thing. And I don't think anybody's going to hold it against him, but the doctors is telling him, hey, man, you could get permanent brain damage here. Now, we know that these quarterbacks are really protected. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, not to sound like a broken record. He shouldn't have did that run. And even the defensive back is like, man, don't do that. Don't do it. Or it was one of the players from the Bills. Don't try to get that extra yard, man. We need you to fight another day. Get down. You're getting stomped out anyways. You getting that extra yard is not going to do anything. Your defense is letting you down is what's happened. And maybe you got to do a few other things offensively, get some other guys the ball. But they haven't spent their money wisely. And that injury aside, Miami, you don't sign 2 receivers to that big a contract, not unless you're just trying to sell tickets versus winning. They gave Jalen Waddle a lot of money, and then they turn around and re-up Tyreek Hill. Yeah, and your defense is lackluster because of it. Wilkins is playing over there with the Raiders, who just beat the Ravens last week in a major upset. So you got to figure out how to spend your money. It's a cap league. But Dolphins didn't listen, and now they are what they are, And as far as Tua, get multiple opinions. And if it is what it is, you just got to bite the bullet. Denver, they're going through it right now with all the dead money there. Because of Russell Wilson's contract, it's a wait and see approach type of thing, So, it's really hard to figure out concussions in the NFL. You set out a week. C.J. Stroud had one last year. I've talked about him. I was thinking to myself today as I was listening to the replay of the show, and, he very well may win the MVP. He won Rookie of the Year last year. But remember, he had a concussion last year and missed a couple of games. So I don't know what the protocol is. They just gave him 4 games off because he's had. So when it comes to concussions, it seems like they're kind of making it up as they go along. What signs does he need to get through? What hurdles does he need to get through for him to play again? It's very blurry when it comes to this concussion thing. Quarterbacks are paid to make good decisions, and one of them, and as good as Sam Darnold's playing, he's also him, and who's Daniel Jones up there in New York. They have the worst habit of ducking their heads, diving into the end zone like they're Derrick Henry, and both of them have had major injuries because of it, especially Daniel Jones. But Sam Darnold too. So that is a wait and see approach. I'm kind of like Jimmy Johnson. Just I'm cool with it both ways. I don't want to encourage one or the other until I know all the information. Okay. Big story out of the University of Tennessee, and Paul Fonbon did not like it. Fonbon went to Tennessee. Let me tell you something, folks. In life, I've got 1,000 apps on this thing. I never have been a big fan of apps. They take too low. They don't load up consistently all the time. They don't work all the time. I've got an app for my laundromat down here. This thing didn't work the other day. My neighbor, luckily for her, she gave me $10 in quarters. That being said, they have helped me out. The Uber app, I can do that and make some extra money. Carvertise app, they have helped me. I submit photos for stuff on my car, and then I get a notification that I'm gonna get paid some money in a few days. So I've learned how to use apps. You know, it's just part of changing and innovation. You know, I say all that because college football is going to paying players, okay? Whether it's going to be a local governor sign off something or the Supreme Court already passing where you cannot withhold a player for NIL. There's a story out of, and I think it's brilliant. Kudos to Danny White. Not everybody's going to agree with me, but Andy Stables first reported this. But this story I'm going to read from you is from On3 Sports. Tennessee is preparing to add a 10% talent fee to their ticket prices to raise money to give to its players. People do not want to hear that. Paul Fonbon said that he thinks it is, what did he say? I want to say he said that he thought this was disgraceful, you know, and I don't know if he's grandstanding. He says it's utterly disgraceful. Listen, Paul's from a different generation than me. I'm a type A personality, folks. I want to win. You either adapt or die. You know, that's life. You know, things are going to change. Things are out of our hands as people. As things are just going to change and evolve, and you adapt or die. So this article here, the House versus NCAA settlement that would usher in an era of revenue sharing has yet to be approved by a federal judge. Tennessee Athletic Director Danny White told On3, that's the website I'm quoting, that his school will implement a plan to add a 10% surcharge to all season and single ticket prices. If the settlement is approved, schools will be able to pay about $22 million a year to athletes beginning in 25-26. That's 1 year from now, folks. Right estimates. White also said the best comparison is restaurants charging large groups an automatic fixed gratuity atop the price of a meal. Tennessee might be the first school to add such a fee, but expect plenty of copycats as college sports economic model evolves. Schools will need to find a way to find player compensation without forcing donors to choose between players and capital projects and administrative costs that traditionally help fund. For decades, the schools concluded through the NCAA rulebook to limit players' earning power. In the past 4 years, state legislators and federal court systems have teamed to end the collusion, but that change has come fast, and athletic departments are struggling to adjust to potential massive new line item that could require a significant chunk of annual budgets. Tennessee's athletic department made about $200 million last year. $22 million represents 10.8% of the budget. West Virginia, for example, has $100 million in athletic department revenue for the same period. 22 represent 20% of their budget. So I think it's cool. Now, personally, here, can you see that, Pickles? Can you see that? My guest coming up here in about 12 minutes. He could tell you a lot about that ticket stub there. That is Tennessee, Florida. 8 years ago. 8 years ago on September 24th. What is today, folks? Friday will be the 20th. What is today, the 18th? Friday will be the 20th. 8 years ago, I paid the face value of this ticket after taxes was $95. I paid $200 and something for this bleacher seat in 2008. And 2008 in 2016, and went up there with the gentleman that's going to come on this program here in about 10 minutes. And it was hot, and we had to pay $20 for parking. And this guy and his dad, this guy got on my Pickle says it's Jared Butler's birthday. Okay. um, long story short, this guy had some words with Kevin. They were getting irritated. The dad got on to the young guy. We let it go. I actually walked. I was hot. I was so hot. It was 93 degrees that day. Walked back behind the, walked around the concessions looking for something to drink. I had a really bad time during the first half. Plus, Tennessee was getting smoked by Florida. They were down, I think it was like 21-3 or some nonsense like that. Getting really annoyed. But anyways, that guy and his dad left. The whole section left. The sun went down, and the comeback began. And Tennessee ended up winning that game, going away. Had a lot of recorded videos off my old cell phone. I wish I would have kept on to that. I may go check my X app. I may still have some of those videos to upload at a later time on this program here, if I can get all the curse words out. Derek Barnett, former Philadelphia Eagle, was on that team. Josh Dobbs was the quarterback, and Jawan Jennings was a receiver on that team who's kicking butt with the 49ers right now. So my point of all this is I probably won't go back to a game. I probably won't, but the people, the 100,000 people that go to these games right here, this Tennessee ticket stub here, it's part of their life, folks. If they paid, and here's another part of this that nobody's really thinking about or talking about, is now you have a direct say in things. If the fans can hold rallies, the fans can have a say. So if the team starts to go downhill, if something happens to Josh Heupel and the recruiting falls off the cliff, when you're charging a 10% surcharge like that, the rumblings around, plus you've got podcasts like mine, you got live streams, you got sports talk radio, TV, just stuff around campus here. That's not good. Now, that stuff happens anyways. But when you add this stuff in here, when you add this in here, which is highly publicized like it is, that's going to give the kind of like the Green Bay Packers, folks, they're owned by the people. They're owned by the people, So I like it. I'm cool with it. It's a tidal wave. And I don't know what Paul Feinbaum was saying. It's disgraceful and all that. And I read something like the governor of Georgia, he signed some legislation where you can pay the players in Georgia as soon as that story came out. So it's keeping up with the Joneses. It is what it is, So Pickle says the Vols are the only team in town for Knoxville. Yeah, they're the only team in town. I mean, it's a big deal. Now, I will say this. I hope that they've upgraded those awful restroom facilities. I was ashamed to be a Tennessean and have that kind of stadium like that. Look like a trough. Some of their concession stands, I couldn't find one that took ATM cards. I didn't like any of that stuff. But as far as this is concerned, I'm okay with it. And I hope that they continue to go along with it and move forward. I think it's a really bright idea. And you could pay all the players. Plus, it could probably lower your what do you call it? Retention rate or whatever. You want to prevent transfers from leaving. So, anyways, not going to hold my man that much longer. I'm going to bring him in and talk right about this. Coach Kevin Carroll, who's been on the program before, asking about. We've talked about the Tennessee Vols. Hey, Kevin.
What's up, guys?
I'm sure you heard me backstage, didn't you, man?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I heard you.
Okay, so I'm right here. This is our ticket stub, buddy, from 8 years ago. September 24th, 2016, Falls, Florida. Still got the stub. What's your
I got mine
about?
Somewhere. Yeah.
I kept playing some of the videos over and over again in the car, and I was so excited driving back. And Kevin was like, "Hey, man, you're scaring me here," because I kept messing with my phone. I wish I still had. I may have loaded some in on the X app from that game, which is used to be
still got
Twitter.
videos on my phone from it.
Yeah, it was an old phone, so
Yeah.
it was 8 years ago. But it was a great moment. It'd probably be the only game I go to, not unless I get rich and go to like a box seat. I just don't like the whole situation. What do you think about upping the price 10% to pay the players? I think you're just getting ahead of the fray, and it kind of gives the fans a little bit more say so. No,
It's kind of like a double-edged sword to me. Those tickets already cost so much already, so it's kind of like now you got to pay more. The good side about it is that it gives the opportunity to pay more players, some players that may not have gotten any NIL, they
Right.
get something. So, that's fair. But on the same token, I think they could find other ways to pay those guys as well, other than going after the fans, getting the money from the fans. But, but I'm like you. I'm all about winning, man. I want to win.
You're type A personality. You want to win. You don't want
If
to be
I gotta
behind.
pay 10%, and if it helps them win, if it helps us not lose to Florida that we shouldn't lose to
Yeah.
again, then hey, I'm all for it. But yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. It was not the Governor Pickles. This was by the that was done by the AD. Danny White proposed that, and you know what? Do what you got to do. I'm not going to go pay it because I'm not going to go I don't want to deal with the whole the whole stadium stuff. I got to do a thing, for this company that's paying to put an advertisement in my car this week, but that's because they're paying me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go deal with that, not unless I was building this show up and doing something for the show, but just going to a game, and just dealing with the parking, dealing with the concessions, the lines, using the restroom, waiting, the expensive concessions. I don't want to deal with none of that crap.
Yeah, I love going. Look, I still want to go. I love watching it at home as well, but my wife and I went to the South Carolina game last year.
Did you really?
And I had a freaking blast. We loved it. It was her first UT game, so.
Well, I mean, yeah, if I have a son or wife or something that's a new experience.
But yeah, I love going every time. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to go to. I don't want to go watch him play Kent State or Chattanooga. I want to go watch them play somebody good. Like I want Florida. Like not that Florida's any good this year, but I wanted to go because I want to be there when they beat Florida down. I pay them back for all the years when we should have beat them, and then we end up finding a way to lose. I really want them to put their foot on Florida's throat and just take them out. So. But yeah, I love the experience. I think I've been to some football games in my time, and there's nothing that compares to going to a football game in Neyland Stadium. I just think it's the greatest experience. It's better than NFL.
Have they got?
It's just such a.
Do they have the urinals squared away since the last time?
They're better. Updated? They've renovated the stadium quite a bit. It's a lot better than it was. Yeah, they've put a lot of money into it. I know it's so many millions of dollars here a year or two ago. They really put a lot of money into it. But yeah, it's better.
That's good because it was awful. I couldn't even find nowhere to get my ATM. I don't know how we survived that thing.
Dude, it was hot, man.
It was bad. So what are your negatives and positives of Tennessee's play so far? I know they look great, but what do you think, man? What's your assessment so far?
So far, it's hard to get a good gauge on where the team is completely because they just haven't had to go into their bag too much because, they haven't really been in a close game. And, for example, they're not using a lot of their blitz packages. They're not doing a lot of the stuff on defense that they're going to do against better competition. On offense, they're one reason why people complaining about Nico's stats, they're not padding his stats. They're doing they're reacting to what the defense is showing them, and that's what they're going off of.
The smoke in the background. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
All right, I'm back. All right.
Okay, that's
Anyway,
all
what
right.
I was saying is, sorry about that. But yeah, my dog, you can't control him, man.
Get him hyped up.
But yeah, they Nico, like we played NC State, they completely took the wide receivers away. They were dropping 8 or 9 people. You know, they did not want them to kill them with the wide receivers. So what did
Yeah.
he do? He worked the middle of the field. He worked the tight ends. When we had Joe Milton, you didn't have the work in the middle of the field. You know what I'm saying? The tight
Yes.
ends didn't catch the passes. But that's the good thing about Nico. He doesn't discriminate. If you want the ball, get open and he will find you. And
Yes.
another good thing is NC State wasn't his greatest performance as he had those 2 picks.
Yeah,
But
he had one pick
in a
six.
game,
Yeah.
in a game where he's still learning, we
Yeah.
win 51-10. That is a
Woo!
good sign. That is a really good sign. So I when we talked before the season, I told you
Yeah.
that the Oklahoma game would be his coming out game. That's going to be the game where he shows the country what he can really do. And I believe he's going to have a really big game this week. And the defense, I think, is going. If we're going to get into that later, I'll wait. I'll
Yeah.
hold off. But
No,
But,
well, the defense has played well. I'm looking at some of the national stats. Let me ask you this. Have you noticed that Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart here, their stats are just a slightly above Tennessee in certain areas, and Tennessee's in certain areas are slightly. I think there's an inner competition there.
Yeah.
You remember when Lane Kiffin made that issue about Nico signing and what Tennessee was paying and all that crap?
Yeah, he did. And they've scored a lot of points too, but one thing you got to understand, most of their games, they're keeping their guys in like into the second half too, and they're padding Jackson Dart's stats. I mean, they're letting him get all his touchdowns and all that, which is fine. But you know, Tennessee, they're working on building depth. You know, Heupel, he's not playing checkers; he's playing chess. He's building depth, and one thing that I think gives them an advantage is just how deep their defensive line is, and I think that's going to help them in every game that they play this year. They're playing like 8 or 9 or 10 deep, and I mean, and they're not having that much of a drop off on any of them rotating in, and which, as you can see, the weakness to the quick offense was the defense getting tired, and as you see, they have adjusted to that by building the depth that they have on the defensive line. So that fixes that problem. That fixes the problem of the defense wearing down. So see, it's genius what they're doing over there. And I'm excited for what they got going.
Do they look a little thin to you on defense as far as, they're a fast team. They're kind of remind me of the Colts back in the day with really fast team because Peyton Manning can go up real fast and score. You had the White Freeneys. That's my only concern, that the lack of physicality on both sides, the offense and the defense. Although I know they run the ball more, I just wish that they would do more power football, Kevin. Is that a concern for you?
It's not a concern for me, and I'll explain why, because that's just not the kind of offense they run. The backs that they have fit perfect into what they do. They do have Cam Seldon, who is a bigger guy, and he can come in and do just as well. He's just been had nagging injuries, and there's no reason to play him when we've been beating guys the way we have. No reason to risk him getting injured further. So we might see him against Oklahoma possibly, but a quick back who can catch passes and stuff like that fits what this offense does. And as far as defense, I do believe they have some physicality. If you've noticed on those, they had 2 4th and 1s that they smashed against NC State. Remember that? Remember I told you about Peely. He's been playing lights out. He actually stopped one of those 4th and 1s. He hit that running back right in the hole and stopped him straight up right there. I mean, I think they're doing what they're supposed to do. It's just it's hard to get a great gauge on them because, like I said, their starters haven't played a whole game yet. They've just beaten everybody pretty soundly,
Yeah.
And that's good though. That's what they were supposed to do against that competition. People like, oh, they've not played anybody. Well, some other people haven't played anybody either, and they haven't looked so great. So, I mean,
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I'm right there with you. I mean, NC State was 23rd or something, and they played in Charlotte. So that's a really impressive game there. But they have not played well on the road against major opponents last year. But you did make a comment earlier about Milton. There's just certain throws that it seems like Nico, even being a second-year player, he can make that Milton routinely missed and overthrown and make us all scream.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, and he does not know how to. He wasn't very good at going through his progressions. He wasn't. If those wide receivers wasn't there, he would try to force it or he'd overthrow them.
Yes.
It didn't seem like he wanted to go to the tight ends and use the tight ends. And as you can tell, they've built a lot of depth at the tight end position. You got Kisselman, you've got Stays, and then the other guy, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's really good as well. He's played well. And I mean, they're using all three of them. All three of them have caught passes, and that's one reason why we're actually a whole lot better in the red zone. We're scoring more touchdowns in the red zone than we did last year because he's working the middle of the field. And like I said, I look for the wide receivers to have a bigger part of the game this week. Oklahoma's going to try to take the run away from us. They're going to try to make us one-dimensional. And so Tennessee's going to have to spread it out, and they're going to have to throw the ball more, which I think, to me, is a good thing. I think that's going to probably be part of Oklahoma's downfall, in my opinion. And once they start passing, the run's going to open back up, and they're going to start running the ball. I mean, it's
pass to set up the run. Yeah. Sometimes you got to do that.
They'll do it, and that's what I like about this offense. They'll do they'll take what you give them, and then eventually it gets to what they're doing, whatever they want to do. So,
yeah. Do you think Heupel is taking it too far? I did not know this. Keith Engel told me this, a guy that's been on the program before, and I was watching his show before my show on Facebook. Was really good, by the way. Josh Heupel was fired as an assistant for Bob Stoops. By the way, folks, 24 years ago, he won a national championship with this Oklahoma team. There's a lot of storylines. Do you think this may affect his coaching? Because this is personal to him.
Yeah, I mean, he's singing that song about how he still loves the people at Oklahoma and this and that, and it's hard to get a gauge on him on if that really bothers him or not. In my opinion, I have a hard time seeing it one way or the other. If it is bothering him, he's doing a good job of covering it up. But regardless, either way, I believe he wants to win this game really bad. And I mean, he knows he's got a special team. You can see him in his post-conference game conferences and everything. He's just he's got that smile on his face, and he's just answering questions confidently. He knows he's got something good here, and I mean it's just crazy. I mean, this game, it's a big game, man. I'm really looking forward to Saturday.
How do you see this game playing out, man? Do you think they're going to cover that 6.5?
Dude, you're gonna laugh when I give you my score, but I'm gonna tell you why I've reached that conclusion. Number one, I believe the defensive line is the biggest mismatch for Oklahoma with their offensive line that has not played great against similar competition that Tennessee has played, and their offensive line has been their weakness, and our defensive line is our strength. And I believe the defensive line is going to absolutely feast on Jackson Arnold. He's going to have a hard time throwing the ball. He's going to have a hard time just getting back in the pocket at all. Our run defense has been good, and I believe that will continue. They're going to make them one-dimensional. They're going to make them have to throw, which means Pierce is going to pin his ears back. And, I mean, like I said, you're going to see some of those blitz packages and stuff that you haven't seen the first 3 games just because it hasn't been needed. And, they didn't want to put that stuff on film, which is perfect. Of course you don't want to put it on film if you don't have to. So they're gonna catch some stuff that's gonna be it's gonna be. I believe they'll probably have. I'm gonna go on the record and say they're gonna get 5 sacks or more. I'm gonna say
Okay.
at least 5 sacks, and they're gonna be a wreck. And offensively, like I said, I think Nico's gonna have his biggest game. He's kind of slipped a little down on the Heisman race.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been padding his stats, but they'll need him to do some stuff this week, and I believe he'll be right back on the radar after this game. And I believe once the third quarter starts, they might be within 2 scores starting the second half, but I think Tennessee starts pulling away even more after that, just because I think they're going to wear the defensive line's going to wear Oklahoma down even more, and the second half is going to get worse for the offense, for Oklahoma's offense. And Tennessee is going to be able to run the ball. I believe they're going to run the ball successfully. Nico's going to get his yards. I got a score of, because I don't think they're going to score that much. I think Tennessee's defense is going to take care of them. I'm saying 38-13. That's the score I come to. Now
they'll jump in the top 5 if they win like that.
My battered Vols syndrome has got me worried anyway, just because I'm everything that's happened over the years. I still got this thing in me that's like, oh, we're going to blow it, or we might blow it. But if I'm just thinking from a complete football standpoint, looking at the matchups, they should be able to take care of them. I can see a 38-13, 38-17 maybe, but they might
That's
score.
about what it felt. That maybe 38, maybe 41. I'll give you my score Friday with the Mad New Yorker.
That neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just not a big Brett Venables guy, As a head coach, he's great as a coordinator. Clemson needs him back.
Their defense is good. They got a good defense, and they're going to try to confuse Nico. And I've been on some of these Oklahoma YouTube channels listening to these guys talk, and what they're saying. Oh, Venables is going to blitz the crap out of Nico, and they're going to try to confuse him and this and that. He's not your normal redshirt freshman quarterback.
Right.
I believe blitzing him will be a mistake. I believe that you'll get burnt on the back end if you blitz him. I don't think you're going to confuse him. And like I said, I think everything comes together for Nico this game. I think he's going to have a big game. So, bring the blitz.
If he loses, maybe I'll bring you on next week. I don't know when.
Hey, if I'm wrong, I'll own it. I
own it every week when I'm wrong too. So let's talk about the league as a whole. The college football polls now have Texas as number 1 team. Georgia, real close one there with Kentucky. I wasn't that big of a surprise. Kirby Smart said this the other day. A few years ago, they had a close one against Missouri, and they won the national championship that year. So I'm not putting too much stock into it. How much stock do you put in Texas beating Michigan with all those starters out and no Jim Harbaugh? What's your thoughts about the switching of 1 and 2 between Georgia and Texas?
The impressive thing about what Texas did was the fact that they went on the road and did it. And I mean, Michigan, they still got a good defense. They're still good defensively. And the way Texas was able to score on them was impressive. Offensively is where Michigan is having issues. And when you run the type of offense you have to be better. You have to have better players than the other team. And last year they did. They had really good players on the offensive side of the ball. This year they've got new guys. And they're still an okay team, but they're not what they were, clearly. Texas, I believe they deserved to jump over Georgia for this week. I think the polls have done a good job as from week to week. Oregon started up in the top 5, and the way they played their first few weeks, they moved down, which they should have moved down. Yes. So I think the polls are kind of doing a good job of how people are moving up and down. Tennessee, they haven't played great competition, but they've looked good, so they moved them up. They got rewarded for that. And, Georgia could move right back up next week if they beat Alabama. In fact, they probably will. If they beat Alabama, they'll probably go back on top of Texas, which is fair. And then they're going to end up playing each other, and then that'll get worked out right there. So, everything's going to work out in the end. There's not going to be any issues. And
What a game that would be, Coach.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward.
What if they both went out and it's 1-2 in Austin? I mean, that's going to be rocking, ain't it?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the Bama Georgia game next week, and I'm looking forward to the Texas Georgia game. That'll be a little later, but I'm looking forward to both of those games. That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. I tell you, man, it's interesting. Is there a quarterback? There's a lot of buzz about Archie Manning right now. He looked great, but it was against an inferior team. Quinn Ewers has got some kind of strain, ab strain, some stomach,
abdominal strain,
abdominal, whatever people want to call it. Is there a quarterback controversy in Texas right now?
I don't believe there's a controversy. If Ewers is healthy, he's playing. But on the flip side of that, I can look at a guy and know if he's legit or not. Arch is legit. He is a good quarterback. If
he's came a long way in just 1 year, hasn't he?
Yes. If Ewers is out, I don't take anything away from Texas. I think they're still just as good. Anyway, Manning he's going to be a good quarterback when he gets his time, whether it's this year or he has to wait till next year. They've got 2 Heisman candidates playing quarterback on their team. Literally, I think Arch is that good. He had to have a little bit of a acclimation period in there, getting used to college and everything. But once he got everything set, and as you can tell, we all knew he was a better athlete than Arch and Peyton as far as the speed and everything. But we didn't realize that he was this good of a runner. The guy can freaking straight out go, and he's not an athlete who can pass. He is a pocket passing quarterback who can run if he has to. And I mean,
that's what you want. Listen to this. I heard this, and I'm gonna bring this for the audience. NFL Rookie Watch. This is a site I follow on the X app, folks. It says several NFL scouts reportedly believe that Arch Manning very well could be the first overall pick in this year's draft if he were eligible. Some scouts reportedly believe Arch is a mixture of Eli and Peyton with Josh Allen athletic. I mean, that is crazy hype.
That's fair. That's
fair. That's exactly what you said. I'm just reading it from what they just said.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree. I think he could be a number 1 coming out. If he comes out, say for example, in 2 years,
probably because the Mannings like to play 4 years in college.
Yeah, it'd be hard for him to get picked over Nico, in my opinion, just because I believe Nico is going to be that special. Nico, we're looking past college now. I think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback.
Okay,
and but we'll just leave that for now.
let me play a little devil's advocate. So that was the write-up on Arch Manning. If you recall, Trevor Lawrence beating Alabama at Clemson freshman year, the same write-ups were about him. Now it looks like, in my book, as of today, as a pro, Trevor Lawrence is not a bust, but he is in that overrated range. He could get back up there, but right now he's in that overrated range. What do you think about that hype on quarterbacks kind of overexceeding just a few good games in college? What's your thoughts about the Trevor Lawrence analogy?
What they're overexceeding is how much they're paying these guys now before they really earned it. I know they used to pay guys by who was the best player in the league. If you were a top 5 quarterback, you got paid more than everybody else. Now it's just like, oh, we got this guy and we're going to pay him as much as we can so we have our quarterback, or they think they have their quarterback, which I think is a huge mistake. The biggest thing in the NFL to me, I got to see consistency. I got to see you do it 2, maybe even 3 years in a row, because too many times you'll see a guy just have a great year and then you'll never see anything from him again.
That was 22,
It happens a lot. And you know what? Right now, Trevor Lawrence isn't looking like that guy right now. I mean, he doesn't have the Urban Meyer excuse anymore. I mean, he looked a lot better the year after.
Nico. He's built like Nico.
He is. He's built like Nico, but I think that's where the similarities end. I think
Okay.
Nico's a whole lot more accurate than him. Nico is a very accurate quarterback. His mechanics are on point. I mean, you could tell this dude's the mechanics has been drilled into him from a young age. So,
Yeah.
you watch the game. I know you watched the game. You look at his feet. Look at his feet as he's going through his progressions. His
Yeah.
both feet are pointed towards wherever he's looking
He's
at
got a
all
pretty
times.
quick release.
Yeah, and
He fooled the cameraman out earlier this
his
year.
release is fast. And then if you look at that touchdown he threw against Kent State, where he threw from the 45, and it dropped right in the basket, like about the 5-yard line. The guy didn't even have to stop running. I mean, how many times we see Milton do that? I mean,
But no, Hilton would have threw it in
yeah,
the stands.
he's extremely accurate, and he's a very smart quarterback too. And so I think the decision making and everything, and he's only going to get better. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think NFL wise, he's gonna be a really good NFL quarterback. I think so. We'll
Are there
see.
any surprises with you? I know Notre Dame, a big letdown game for them with the young head coach there. I'm high on the guy, but that is the second big letdown. I know
Yeah,
that Nick Saban, he goes crazy on his guys when they play a
yeah.
lower competition
I
guy.
picked Notre Dame to beat A&M.
Me too. Me
I
too.
thought they would beat A&M. And I didn't expect them to lose to
Northern Illinois.
NIU. So I mean, I thought, because I'm big on Riley Leonard. I think Riley Leonard. I thought he was a good quarterback at
A
Duke,
good college,
and
anyways.
I thought that at Notre Dame he fit in good with what they did,
Yeah.
and he just did. I mean, throwing the ball, he's not looking as good as I thought he would at Notre Dame with the better athletes. I thought he'd look better than he did at Duke, and he just hasn't. So that makes
Yeah.
me think maybe it's the competition. I don't know. But as far as Notre Dame goes, if they win out, I think they could still get in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win out, but
Well,
if
they got to play USC. Does US Southern Cal? Does their depth on defense hold up, or does it just fall apart? It's a great win over LSU, but LSU is just not quite as good as a lot of us thought they were going to be.
they're not, but they are good. They are good offensively, and that quarterback is pretty good.
USC.
Yes. No, I'm
Yeah,
talking
I
about,
like him
I'm
too.
talking about LSU.
Oh, LSU. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Nussmeier,
got a
whatever.
good offense, and that quarterback's a pretty good quarterback. And I was impressed with USC. I'll be honest, I didn't see that from USC because they always, poop the bed on defense. Period. I mean, it happens.
Well, they got a new
But
coordinator.
this defense, I've been impressed with what I've seen this defense do to this point, and I think USC is looking pretty good. And honestly, if USC played Oregon right now, I'd pick USC. I think they beat Oregon. I'm
Okay, so
off,
they passed
I'm
your
off the
eyeball
table.
test.
I'm off the table on Oregon, man. I wasn't that impressed with Dylan.
You really told them.
Dylan Gabriel, I saw him at Oklahoma, and I thought he was a good quarterback. I don't think he's Bo Nix. I don't think he's going to do what Bo Nix did. He did good this last game against Oregon State.
I was going to say Oregon State, that was a pretty good game for him.
Yeah, he had a good game that game. They throw a lot of those short passes, and so he completed a lot. It ups his completion percentage and everything. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I don't think he's Bo Nix, though. I don't think he's going to be what Bo Nix was. And I think that's why they got all that early hype, because they think, oh, they got Dylan Gabriel, and I didn't see it to that point. I was like, okay, that might be a good fit, but I wasn't like, oh, they're going to win it all with Dylan. Now we'll see. I mean, they did look better this past week. We'll see if they continue.
That was a road game at a rival too.
Yeah, it was a good game. What about Milroe? What about Milroe?
Yeah, they look better to me than I thought. Bigger, faster, stronger than Wisconsin. I put something on Facebook. He looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate.
That's why they beat Wisconsin. Wisconsin just don't have the speed to hang with Alabama. But go back one game. Go back to that South Florida game. That South Florida game was close until the fourth quarter, and then
they blew wide open though in the fourth quarter.
Then the depth and the talent difference prevailed, because I mean they wore South Florida down. I mean by that point, I felt like Alex Golesh had Alabama figured out, but he didn't have the horses to finish the deal. You know what I'm saying? I think that because they were stopping Milroe, they wasn't letting him throw the ball down the field, they wasn't letting him run all over them. But once they got wore down, they couldn't help it. You know how once the defense gets worn down,
Yeah.
there's not a lot they're going to be able to do, especially against a team that's got the talent that Alabama has. So, you know, there's some other teams coming up on their schedule that is going to have the talent to play with them. I'm not going to say any names.
And Luke Fickell's just not really. I'm a little disappointed. He was so good at Cincinnati that the Wisconsin coach.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to have Oregon or Wisconsin pumping by now.
I think Wisconsin was a bad choice for him because he was the hot hire at the time.
Yes,
he could have gone to a lot of places where there's a lot of good athletes, and he chose Wisconsin where once you run into certain caliber of teams, you're just not going to be able to compete with them on a regular basis. So, you'll win one here and there, but you're not going to win it consistently. But,
yeah, that's interesting.
Florida.
Well, I by the way, let me ask you, Deion, what do you think about? They did bounce back against the rival Colorado State. I've been back and forth. I don't know if you've been hearing us talk about this. You may have read it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Wanting to play rap songs for his son's scoring. He's run-ins with the media, the penalties, run defense. It seems like Deion's getting very frustrated with being a coach. Does he just leave after his sons leave Colorado?
Once his sons leave, he'll leave. That's what I think.
Okay, so you're leaning that way too.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. Hey, I'm not going to sit here and say he's a bad coach, but what I'm going to say is he was good on the lower level. But then again, you gotta understand the circumstance at that lower level. He had 5-star athletes coming to his school playing against those lower level schools, and he was winning. People don't want to admit that, but that's what was happening. And I want him to do good at Colorado because I think Deion Sanders is good for college football.
Yeah, great personality, right?
But I mean, at the end of the day, you got to win. In the offseason, I heard nothing more. I heard nothing about those transfer offensive linemen that he was bringing in from Oregon State and Temple, and I'm like, okay, so now y'all are saying he has an offensive line now. Now that's going to be different this year. They basically built a mid-major offensive line, and they think that was going to get them to the playoffs or something. I mean, they're just not good, and they don't have any chemistry. The players are backstabbing each other. It's the one bright light on that team, in my opinion, is Travis Hunter. Yeah, I think he's
the one that feels like a lock, right?
He's a legit dude. That dude is good, and Sanders is a good college quarterback. I don't know how that's going to translate to the NFL.
I'm back and forth on Sanders.
He's not a big kid. I mean, he's not that big. He don't have a lot of size. It's just, it's hard for me to see him go to the NFL and do similar to what he's doing. They're saying he's going to be the number 1 pick and all this. I don't see it, man.
Wow.
I mean, I'm hearing that. That's
maybe Hunter will go over him though. Not unless he gets injured again.
I'd pick Hunter over him. Hunter's legit talent. He's a good player. Both sides of the ball. He could be a first-round pick, wide receiver or defensive back.
What do you think he's going to do? Receiver, because it pays more.
Probably, possibly, but DBs are starting to make a lot of money too. So I don't know. He might be a little bit better of a defensive back than he is receiver, but he's such a good receiver. It's hard to say that. I don't know. He's got.
Is he still in the Heisman conversation, even though they lost to Nebraska?
Too
early.
Yeah, it's still too early.
It's still September.
They're not going to win the Big. We know they're not going to win the Big 12,
no.
And I think the team is not going to be good enough for him to win the Heisman. But he'll be in the conversation just because of how good of a player he is. So, but yeah. But Deion, I'm with you on Deion though. I think he's gone after his sons leave.
Yeah.
And how good of a coach he is, I don't know. I don't think he hasn't proven anything yet, especially on this level. So it's hard to really say, oh yeah, he's going to change everything. I mean,
over the summer, I thought maybe he'd take the Florida job because we already know where Florida's going.
Oh yeah. Lane is going. I'll I'll die on that. I think Lane Kiffin's going to end up at Florida. And hey, I don't want it because I think it's a perfect fit for both of them. You get Lane.
Maybe
at
Florida State now that they've
Yeah.
lost 3 straight.
Possibly. You get Lane at Florida and let him get his quarterback, and with that hotbed of talent that he's got right at his finger, man, that could be scary. Yeah, I think Lane's going to end up going to Florida.
Lane Kiffin?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Wow.
I mean, it's like a match. Like it's like a perfect match. I think that would be.
Wow. He'd love the Needle, Tennessee, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he'd love that.
Spurrier 2.0.
That'd be scary. But I could see that happening. Hopefully it don't.
That's a
I
good
hope I'm
prediction,
wrong.
Coach.
I hope I'm wrong on that. But I see Lane Kiffin going to Florida. It's just too good of a match.
He turned down Auburn a few years ago. Remember that?
Yeah. Auburn's not the same stature as Florida, though. It's different. Yeah. That's
Florida's
the
got a lot
closest
of
thing
talent
he's
down
going to
there.
get the USC on the east side of the country. Like
That's true.
So.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be a match made in heaven.
Yeah,
For
you're
them.
right. And Tennessee better be ready because he'll.
Oh yeah.
Man, boy, you're really speaking some crazy stuff here. But that very well may be the call. I'll have to save that and clip it, Coach.
It wouldn't
that
surprise me
happens.
at all. It would not surprise me at all.
Yeah,
I can
that's a
see
good
it, and I don't
prediction.
want to see it.
No, because he's going to needle Tennessee. Not unless Tennessee can get those kind of players they need. You know.
Right. Their NIL situation will improve if Lane goes there.
Right
now it's a mess. Like he would improve their NIL situation a lot.
They're going to get another coach. You just don't know who and how big a guy. Urban Meyer says that ship has sailed. He don't want to die. He said it almost gave him a heart attack last week.
Oh yeah, I don't see him coming back. Coming back. He's making too much. He's said already. He's got his job up in his chair, just talking. I mean,
Fox Sports.
Yeah. That he don't want anymore. The responsibility, it's just too much. And now you got to recruit players 3-4 times. I mean, it's like
you got to keep them from transferring.
Right. So
yeah,
I don't see him doing that.
All right, Coach. I've got your score down here. I think Tennessee wins this game. I just don't know how much. I'll give you my score Friday. I'm with you. Though. I do think they're going to play well. A little concerned that it's on the road, but I do think it's Nico's going to be A-okay. You know.
Yeah. Remember, he likes playing on the road. That's what he.
Remember,
prefers.
you said that, and I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
And practically, NC State was played Charlotte. That was practically a road game, right?
Pretty much. Yeah.
So, Coach Carroll, everybody, thank you, buddy, and I will bring you back on, man.
All right, go Vols. Have a good one.
See you, man. All right, everybody. I'll be back on tomorrow. I was supposed to have a guest, but I think she's may have had cold feet. I don't know if she wants to come on or not. Either way, I've got a lot of stories to talk. Adrian Wojciechowski has he's retiring as one of the most breaking news type of guys for basketball. And he's going to go be like a general manager for St. Bonaventures or whatever. He's left ESPN. There's a story about Michael Jordan selling his house. I thought that was pretty cool. I'll cover that. I may give some point spread stuff, points against the spread, because I got a feeling my guest, she says she's going to try to come on, but I got a feeling she's not going to come on. So I'm not going to bank on that. I'm not going to waste a lot of time begging people to come on the program if they're wishy-washy. So either way, folks, I'll be back here tomorrow. We'll have a great show. A lot to cover here on the Real Sports Scope. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks, everybody.